Thanksgiving dinner was warm and loud, the way our family gatherings always were. My older sister, Jessica, was talking about her latest promotion at the marketing firm. My brother, Todd, was showing off photos of his new lake house. My parents were beaming, passing dishes, asking all the right questions. And then my pager buzzed. It was the clinic. Mrs. Gable, an elderly patient with no family, had fallen and was refusing to go to the hospital. She trusted me. I stood up from the table, apologized, and grabbed my coat. "Abby, really?" Jessica said, her voice sharp. "It is Thanksgiving." I looked at her. "She has no one else," I said quietly. My mother sighed, that particular sigh that meant disappointment. But I went anyway. I drove to Mrs. Gable's small apartment, helped her up, checked her vitals, and made sure she was safe. By the time I got back to my parents' house 3 hours later, the pies were gone. The family had moved to the living room. I walked in and the conversation stopped. My mother stood up, smoothing her skirt. "Abigail, we have talked. The Christmas Eve party is about joy and celebration. Your work brings a certain heaviness. We took a vote. It is better if you sit this year out." The room was silent. My own family had voted me off the island. I stood there, frozen, not understanding what I was hearing. "You took a vote?" I repeated. My father nodded, looking uncomfortable. "It was unanimous, honey. We just think it would be less stressful for everyone." Jessica followed me into the kitchen as I grabbed my purse. "Do not make this into a big dramatic thing," she said, refilling her wine glass. "You choose to have that job. You choose to bring those depressing stories to dinner. It is exhausting, Abby. Todd's most important clients are coming to the Christmas party this year. We need a certain atmosphere." She said the word atmosphere like it was sacred. I stared at her, my sister, who I had known my entire life. "My job is dramatic?" I asked quietly. She shrugged. "Your job is depressing. You talk about sick people and poverty. It brings the mood down. We just want one peaceful holiday." Each word was a tiny pin, piercing something inside me. My compassion, my life's work, was being treated like a character flaw. I simply nodded, too hurt to argue. I grabbed my coat and walked out without saying goodbye. The cold November air hit me like a slap, but it felt cleaner than the warmth I had just left behind. The next Monday at the Oakwood Community Health Center, my sadness must have shown on my face. My friend and fellow nurse, Ben, asked me what was wrong during our lunch break. When I told him about the vote, about being uninvited from Christmas, his face darkened with anger. "They do not deserve you, Abby," he said firmly. "You are out here saving lives, and they are worried about atmosphere?" I tried to laugh it off, but my voice cracked. The patients that day became my comfort. Little Leo coming in for his asthma checkup, showing me his new dinosaur toy. Mr. Henderson thanking me for the home visit last week that had probably saved his life. Mrs. Chin bringing me homemade dumplings because she knew I worked long hours. Here, in this underfunded clinic with peeling paint and outdated equipment, I was not dramatic. I was needed. I was valued. These people saw me clearly. My family, with all their success and their big house and their important friends, could not see me at all. I went home that night to my small apartment and cried. Not because I was sad, exactly, but because I was realizing something painful. My family loved an idea of me, but they did not love who I actually was. A week later, a formal-looking envelope arrived in my mailbox. It had the town seal on it. I opened it carefully, expecting maybe jury duty or a parking ticket I had forgotten. Instead, it was a letter from the Willow Creek Town Council. It said my name had been put forward for the annual Citizen of the Year award. My volunteer work with the senior transportation program, my free flu shot clinics, my fundraising for medical debt relief, all of it had been noticed. I was one of 3 finalists. I sat down on my couch, holding the letter, completely stunned. I had been running these programs quietly for years, never expecting recognition. I had not even told my family about most of it. Why would I? They already thought my regular job was too depressing to discuss. I tucked the letter into a drawer, unsure of what it meant, but feeling a small, warm flicker of something. Hope maybe. Or validation. The town council saw my work. They valued it. Even if my family did not. I decided not to tell anyone. I did not want to get my hopes up. And honestly, I did not want to hear what my family would say if I lost. A few days later, 2 members of the town council showed up at the clinic. Mrs. Peabody, a kind older woman who had been on the council for decades, and Mr. Lewis, retired school principal. They asked to speak with me privately. My boss, Dr. Chin, gave us his office. Abigail, we are here to see your work firsthand, Mrs. Peabody explained. The Citizen of the Year award is serious. We want to understand the full scope of what you do. They spent 2 hours at the clinic. They spoke with Dr. Chin. They talked to patients in the waiting room. They watched me help a young mother navigate the complicated process of applying for reduced-cost medications. When they left, Mrs. Peabody squeezed my hand. The town needs to know about its quiet heroes, she said with a warm smile. I asked them, almost begging, to please keep the nomination quiet. I hated the idea of a fuss. She agreed, though she looked a little confused by my request. Of course, dear. We will let you know the decision soon. After they left, Ben found me in the supply closet, taking a moment to breathe. That was about the award, was not it? I nodded. He grinned. You are going to win. I know it. My mother called a few days later. Her voice was bright and cheerful. We are finalizing the menu for the Christmas Eve party, she said. Jessica hired a string quartet. Can you believe it? It is going to be so elegant. Shrimp cocktail, champagne, the works. There was a pause. I just thought you should know what you will be missing. You know, since you are not coming. The cruelty was wrapped in fake sweetness. She wanted me to feel the loss. To regret my dramatic job that had gotten me uninvited from my own family's Christmas. It sounds lovely, Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady. I am sure it will be beautiful. We hung up, and I stood in my tiny kitchen, looking at the town council letter I had pinned to my refrigerator. 2 different worlds were valuing me in 2 completely different ways. My family measured success in money, houses, the right kind of guests. The town council measured it in service, compassion, and impact. I knew which measurement felt true. I knew which one made me feel whole. And it was not the one that came with shrimp cocktail and a string quartet. 3 days before Christmas, Mrs. Peabody called me. Abigail, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. You have won. The committee vote was unanimous. You are Willow Creek's Citizen of the Year. I felt my breath catch. I had one. Me, the dramatic daughter with the depressing job. The tradition, Mrs. Peabody continued, is to erect a large, illuminated portrait display on the winner's front lawn on Christmas Eve morning. It stays up through New Year's Day so the whole town can celebrate you. My heart stopped. My front lawn. I lived in a small apartment building. I did not have a lawn. Mrs. Peabody, I do not have a house, I said, embarrassed. I rent an apartment. She laughed, a delighted sound. Oh, we know, dear. We have already spoken with your landlord and the building owner. They are thrilled. The display will go on the small lawn in front of your building. It is going to be magnificent. I tried to imagine it. A huge, lit-up portrait of me, visible from the street. In my quiet neighborhood, where everyone would see it. Including, potentially, anyone from my family who drove by. Mrs. Peabody, I said carefully, could we please keep this quiet until Christmas Eve? I would like it to be a surprise. She agreed, though she sounded a bit confused by all my requests for secrecy. I had my reasons for wanting secrecy. I did not want my family hearing about this through town gossip before the display went up. I did not want them calling me, asking questions, making it about them somehow. I wanted one quiet Christmas, alone, where I did not have to manage their reactions or their feelings. Mrs. Peabody promised to keep it confidential until the official reveal on Christmas Eve morning. The surprise will make it even more special for everyone, she said enthusiastically. She had no idea how true that was. She did not know my family had uninvited me. She did not know they thought my work was dramatic and depressing. She did not know that in less than a week, a 12-foot illuminated portrait of my face was going to appear on my lawn, announcing to the entire town that I was Citizen of the Year. And my family, hosting their elegant party with Todd's important clients, was going to have to explain why I was not there. The irony was so perfect it almost hurt. I did not plan this revenge. But it was coming anyway, wrapped in Christmas lights and town council approval. Christmas Eve morning, I was woken up at 7 a.m. by the sound of a truck and cheerful voices outside my window. I stumbled out of bed, still in my pajamas, and looked outside. A work crew was setting up a massive wooden frame on the small patch of lawn in front of my apartment building. They were laughing, joking, clearly excited about the project. I watched as they carefully mounted an enormous light box inside the frame. The portrait was covered in canvas, but I could see the lights being strung around it, tested, adjusted. Then, at exactly 8 a.m., 2 crew members pulled the canvas away. And there it was. A huge, beautiful photograph of me from the clinic's free vaccination day last summer. I was laughing, surrounded by kids, holding up a silly sticker. Underneath, in bold, elegant letters, it read, "Willow Creek Citizen of the Year, Abigail Wells, for selfless service and community heart." I stood at my window with my hands over my mouth, tears streaming down my face. It was real. It was happening. The whole town was about to see this, including my family. By 9 a.m., my phone started exploding. Text after text. "Congratulations. We are so proud of you. The display is gorgeous. You deserve this." Messages from neighbors, from clinic staff, from patients, from people I barely knew. My small, usually quiet street suddenly had cars slowing down to look. People were stopping, taking pictures, pointing. Within an hour, someone had posted a photo to the town's Facebook page, and it was being shared everywhere. The secret was spectacularly out. Willow Creek was celebrating. I sat on my couch, scrolling through the messages, feeling overwhelmed and loved and seen. Then my phone rang. It was Jessica. I almost did not answer. But curiosity won. "Abby?" Her voice was sharp, confused, almost angry. "What is happening?" "Sharon from the golf club just texted me a picture of your face on a giant billboard on your lawn. Is this some kind of joke?" I could hear the sounds of party preparation in the background. Glasses clinking. Someone laughing. The string quartet warming up. "It is not a billboard, Jessica," I said calmly. "It is the Citizen of the Year award. From the town council." The line went completely silent. Within an hour, the story was everywhere. The local news station sent a reporter to my apartment to do a quick segment for the evening news. The town's Facebook page shared the official announcement with my photo. The post was getting hundreds of likes and comments. People were tagging my family members, congratulating them. "Your daughter is amazing. You must be so proud. What an honor for your family." Meanwhile, my family's elegant Christmas Eve party was starting. Their house, 10 minutes away in the fancy neighborhood, was filling up with guests. Todd's important clients. Jessica's work friends. My parents' country club crowd. All people who followed the town's social media. All people who were now seeing the news. I could only imagine the conversations happening. The questions being asked. "Is this your daughter? Why did not you mention this? Where is she? Why is not she here?" The very atmosphere Jessica had wanted to protect was being completely disrupted by the news of my award. And there was nothing they could do to control it. The truth was out there, glowing on my lawn for everyone to see. My father called at noon. His voice was strained. Not proud. Not congratulatory. Just stressed. "Abigail, people are talking," he said. "They're asking questions. About you. About why you are not here at the party. This is very awkward. He paused. Could you consider coming? Just for a little while? It would help if people could see you. If they could congratulate you in person. I closed my eyes. It was not an apology. It was not an admission that they had been wrong. It was damage control. They needed me there to make their story make sense. To explain why the Citizen of the Year was not at her own family's Christmas celebration. I have plans, Dad, I said. I am sorry. He started to say something else, but I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. From a strange kind of power. For the first time in my life, I was not bending to make them comfortable. I was not showing up to smooth things over. I was choosing myself. And it felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. My plans were real. Ben had invited me to spend Christmas Eve with his family and a few other friends from the clinic who were also holiday orphans. People who, for various reasons, were not spending the holiday with their families. We had planned a potluck at my apartment. Everyone started arriving around 2 p.m., bringing food and drinks and laughter. We crowded into my small living room, eating, talking, watching Christmas movies. And every few minutes, someone would look out my window at the display on the lawn and grin. I cannot believe that is you, Ben's sister said, taking a picture. You are literally glowing. Cars kept driving by slowly. Families walked up to take photos. Some people even knocked on my door to congratulate me personally. Neighbors I had only nodded to in the hallway came by with cookies and cards. The warmth was overwhelming. This was community. This was real connection. Not the performative elegance of my family's party. Just genuine people celebrating someone they felt was worth celebrating. From my window, I could see down the hill toward my parents' neighborhood. Their house was visible in the distance, lit up like a palace with white lights and elegant decorations. I imagined the party inside. The string quartet playing. The shrimp cocktail being passed around. And every conversation probably circling back to me. Did you see the announcement? Her work must be incredible. Why is she not here? The contrast was almost funny. Their house was full of people talking about me, while I was surrounded by people actually talking with me. People who knew me. Who valued the same things I valued. Who did not think my compassion was dramatic or my work was depressing. Ben came to stand beside me at the window. How are you doing? He asked quietly. I looked at him, at the crowded room behind us, at the glowing portrait outside. I am good, I said. And I meant it. I was better than good. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Ben's sister, Maria, knew someone who was working as catering staff at my parents' party. She kept getting text updates, and she was reading them out loud to us, laughing. Okay, she says a bunch of people just left, Maria reported, looking at her phone. They told your mom they wanted to drive by your place to see the display for themselves. Your mom looked like she was going to cry. The group in my living room erupted in laughter. It was not mean-spirited. It was just the absurdity of it all. The certain atmosphere Jessica had wanted was completely destroyed. The town's curiosity and genuine excitement about my award had pulled guests right out of their elegant party. They wanted to see the real story, not the performance. Another text came through. Oh no, your brother is apparently very upset. Someone asked him about your volunteer programs, and he had no idea what they were talking about. It was awkward. I felt a pang, but not of guilt. Of sadness. My own family knew nothing about my life. Nothing about the work I did beyond my clinic hours. And now everyone else did. And they were embarrassed by their ignorance. There was a knock on my door around 8 p.m. The room went quiet. I opened it, expecting another neighbor. But it was my mother and father, still in their party clothes. My father in a suit. My mother in a burgundy dress and pearls. They looked completely out of place in my simple hallway with its worn carpet and flickering light. They stood there, and I could see they were cold, their breath making little clouds. They had walked from their car without coats. May we come in? My father asked. His voice was quiet, almost humble. I looked at them, these two people who had raised me but did not know me. Behind me, My living room was full of noise and warmth. My friends had gone quiet, listening. I stepped aside. Okay. They walked in, and everyone stared. Ben stood up, and I shook my head slightly. It was okay. My parents sat on my couch, perched on the edge like they might need to leave quickly. They clutched their coats, looking around at my small apartment, at my mismatched furniture, at the group of people clearly in the middle of a party. We needed to talk to you, my mother said. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. I sat across from them in the folding chair I had borrowed from Ben. My friend stayed, a silent wall of support. My mother looked at her hands. We had no idea, she started. Her voice was shaking. All of this work you have been doing. The volunteer programs. The fundraising. The town thinks you are a hero. She said it like it was a shocking discovery. Like she had just learned I was a completely different person. Why did not you tell us? She asked, finally looking up at me. I felt so many things at once. Anger. Sadness. Exhaustion. You never asked, I said quietly. And when I did try to share, when I talked about my patients or my work, you called it dramatic. You said it brought down the mood. You uninvited me from Christmas because I was too depressing. The words hung in the air. My father flinched. We did not understand, he said. But it sounded hollow. You did not try to understand, I corrected gently. You judged my work without ever asking what it actually involved. You assumed, because I do not make as much money as Jessica or Todd, that I am somehow less successful. You measured my worth by your standards. And I failed. So you voted me out. My father looked at the floor. People were asking us tonight, he said, his voice rough. How they could donate to your clinic. What your volunteer programs needed. If there was a fund they could contribute to. He paused. We did not have any answers. We stood there, at our own party, and we could not answer basic questions about our own daughter's life. Their embarrassment was complete. In their world of appearances and connections and reputation, they had been exposed. Not just as parents who did not know their daughter, but as people who had actively rejected her, who had voted to exclude her from Christmas. And now the whole town knew she was worth celebrating. The dissonance was unbearable for them. I could see it in their faces. We want you to come to Christmas dinner tomorrow, my mother said, not quite meeting my eyes. It would look strange if you were not there. People would ask questions. Even now. Even after everything. It was still about appearances. About how things looked. I felt a profound, settled calm. I have plans tomorrow, I said. I am serving dinner at the community shelter with Ben. They are expecting me. The irony was perfect. My rejected drama had become my honored commitment. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked lost. Abby, we are sorry, she said. But the words felt automatic. Like she was saying them because she was supposed to, not because she meant them. We made a mistake. My father nodded. We did. We should not have uninvited you. I looked at them both. You should not have needed a town council award to see my value, I said quietly. You should have seen it because I am your daughter. Because you love me. Not because other people told you I was worth something. Tears were running down my mother's face. How do we fix this? She asked. I did not have an answer. I was not sure it could be fixed. Not quickly. Not easily. You start by actually getting to know me, I said. By asking about my work. By understanding what I do and why I do it. By respecting my choices even if they are not the choices you would make. They both nodded, but I could see the uncertainty in their eyes. They did not know how to do that. They had spent my whole life seeing me through their own lens. Asking them to see me clearly was asking them to change fundamentally. We will try, my father said. It was something. But it was not enough. They left a few minutes later, walking back out into the cold night. My friends surrounded me immediately. Are you okay? That was intense. You handled that so well. I nodded, feeling drained but also strangely peaceful. Christmas Day, I woke up early and drove to the community shelter. It was already bustling with volunteers. We spent the day serving meals, talking with families, helping coordinate the gift distribution. It was loud and chaotic and beautiful. Around 3 p.m., I took a break and checked my phone. Ben had texted me a photo. He had driven past my parents' house on his way home. The driveway was empty. No cars. The house looked dark and still, even though it was only mid-afternoon. The big party was over. The guests were gone. Meanwhile, outside my apartment, the portrait still glowed brightly against the gray December sky, a beacon visible from blocks away. The contrast was stark. Their house was empty. Mine was celebrated. I did not feel victorious. I just felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that a town award had been necessary to make them see what should have been obvious all along. The day after Christmas, the Willow Creek Gazette arrived on doorsteps all over town. The front page featured a large, beautiful photo of the illuminated display on my lawn at night. The headline read, "Local Nurse Honored as Citizen of the Year for Extraordinary Community Service." The article was long and detailed. It talked about my work at the clinic. It listed my volunteer programs. It included quotes from patients. Mrs. Gable, who I had helped on Thanksgiving, was quoted, "Abigail Wells saved my life, and she did it with such kindness. She treats everyone like family." There were quotes from Dr. Chin, from town council members, from people whose medical debt I had helped forgive through fundraising. My family's names were mentioned once, near the end, in a single sentence. Abigail is the daughter of Frank and Lorraine Wells of Willow Creek. They were a footnote, a piece of biographical information, not central to my story at all. I sat in my apartment, reading the article 3 times, and I felt something shift inside me. This was my identity now. Not Frank and Lorraine's daughter. Not Jessica and Todd's sister. Just Abigail Wells, Citizen of the Year. A person defined by her own actions. Jessica called me that afternoon. Her voice was different. Stripped of its usual confidence and superiority. "Abby, I need to tell you something," she said. She sounded tired. Todd's biggest client, the one he was so worried about impressing at the party, he read the Gazette article this morning. She paused. He called Todd. He said if our family is so disconnected that we would exclude someone like you, he questions our character and judgment. He is pausing their business relationship pending review. I was silent, processing. Their actions had consequences. Real, financial consequences. Not because I had done anything, but because they had revealed their own values, and someone important found those values lacking. "I am not telling you this to make you feel bad," Jessica continued. "I am telling you because I need you to know that we messed up. Really badly. And it is costing us." She took a breath. "But more than that, it is making us look at ourselves. And we do not like what we see." It was the most honest thing she had ever said to me. "I do not know what to say, Jessica," I replied. "I did not do this to hurt you. I just lived my life. I did my work. The town noticed. That is all." She was quiet for a moment. "I know. That is what makes it worse." In the week between Christmas and New Year's, something amazing happened. Donations started pouring into the clinic's website. Every single one was tagged in honor of Abigail Wells, Citizen of the Year. Small amounts, large amounts, from people all over town. Dr. Chin called me, his voice emotional. "Abby, we have raised $30,000. In a week. This is going to change everything. We can fix the heating system. We can hire another nurse. We can expand the pharmacy." I started crying right there in the clinic hallway. The drama of my work, the thing my family had wanted to hide, was now funding real, lasting change. The town council contacted me about the senior transportation program. They had set up a fund specifically for it, and it had reached its goal in 2 days. We could buy a new van. We could hire drivers. We could serve twice as many people. I had a meeting scheduled with the mayor to discuss expanding the program citywide. My depressing, dramatic job was turning into a movement. And I was at the center of it. Not because I had sought attention, but because I had quietly done good work and the community had decided to amplify it. On New Year's Eve, the illuminated display was still glowing on my lawn. The tradition was to keep it up through New Year's Day. I stood outside with a cup of tea, wearing my warmest coat, just looking at it. The neighborhood was quiet. Most people were at parties or inside with their families. I heard footsteps behind me and turned. It was my parents. Again. They were walking up the sidewalk, this time bundled in winter coats. They did not call first. They did not ask permission. They just came. They stopped a few feet away from me. My father was holding an envelope. "We wanted to give you this in person," he said. He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was a check, made out to Oakwood Community Health Center, for $10,000. In the memo line, it said, "In honor of Abigail Wells." I looked up at them stunned. "It is a donation," my mother said softly. "To your clinic. From us." It was not an apology in words, but it was a start. It was action. It was them trying, in the only way they knew how, to show that they were listening, that they were learning. I looked from their uncertain faces to my glowing portrait behind me. The town had seen my value when my own family had chosen to be blind. Their punishment was not legal or financial, though Jessica's business consequences were their own doing. Their real punishment was shame. Social shame. The kind that made them reassess everything they thought they knew. About success. About worth. About family. My rise was not about wealth or fame. It was about a community holding me up as an example, shining a light on work that had been done in quiet corners. And as I stood there in the cold, silent night, holding their donation, watching my breath make clouds in the air, I felt something I had not felt in months. Peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing exactly who you are and being okay with it. "Thank you," I said to my parents. "This will help a lot of people." My father nodded. "We know. That is why we did it." We stood there together, the three of us, looking at the glowing portrait. It was not reconciliation. Not yet. But it was a beginning. The town had turned on the lights so everyone could see who I was. And finally, slowly, my family was starting to look.